Welcome to the energy of houses and properties. Waiting for Nikki to join. Let's uh, awesome. Accept. Let's go live with Nikki. Hey, Nikki.
Good morning.
Good.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. It's been a while.
Yeah, you had the Sacred Blueprint series interview series. So yeah, you've been
Yes.
busy.
It's great to have you.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's fun to have you again in the series. Yeah.
the sound is a bit delayed.
Nikki, is it delayed? Okay. Yeah. Um, it's probably because of our situation on the construction site. I'm currently connected via my phone, and yeah, we haven't gotten a really good internet connection yet. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. We'll just take our time.
Okay, great. Perfect. So, Nikki, well, you know what? I'd love to introduce you to my community. I have some new members who have joined my my Instagram and my own email list as well. And so I want to introduce you and welcome you to my space. Nikki is a house healer and a geomancer. She's also a cold water coach, and she helps people to bring the joy and grounding and healing into their lives by establishing a conscious relationship with their own home and with the energies of their own home, or even garden too, property in general. And she's been in this business for quite some time, and has really practical insights and tools on how you can connect with the energies of your home to create results, healing results, and really transform your home, as Nikki says, into your personal power place. So Nikki is someone who provides education and private consultations, correct? On, yeah, on healing your own home. So yeah, Nikki, so great to have you.
Thank you. What a nice introduction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. So Nikki, in the master class that I just ran, I had this is a master class for women architects and designers. Um, and the question came up that I didn't address during the master class about, it was a really good question. Uh, the person who was involved, she's a landscape architect, and she noticed that the bricks in her chimneys, just want to read what she said here. Right. Is about the shock of the nature beings within the material of the brick that she experienced because of unethical harvesting of the material. So the unrighteousness or the unconsciousness of harvesting the material. What does this imply for our houses and our lives if many houses are built with materials that are in shock from unconscious harvesting? Such a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Well, how does it impact someone on a personal level or a family on a personal level? That's always very personal.
Right.
So I can't really say, but if you are aware of it, you're able to change it. And on the other hand, I think 99% of the stuff that is made without any consciousness of harvesting the materials at all. So I think our whole environment is made without any conscious attention. And if you think about ceramics, for example, ceramics, when it's handmade, it has a very different feel to it than when it's from a store, from like, the big Swedish.
Like a factory. Yeah.
It's just it's just something totally different. And as long as you are aware that you can make something sacred with attention, because there is an energetic law that energy attracts attention and attention attracts energy. It's an energetic law that you can see basically everywhere around you. If there is a statue in the city that attracts attention, you will feel that. And if it's a statue that doesn't have any attention, you will not even look at it. Just the fact that it attracts your attention, and because it attracts attention, it attracts energy, so it attracts more attention. So this can be in a positive way, but also in something that we call a negative way. And if you're talking about something that attracts attention in bricks of a chimney, was it?
Yeah.
Maybe make a connection and make the attention in a more positive way, then you will get positive feedback as well. Communicate with this energy. And luckily, if you are aware of it, then you're able to change it. But on a general level, how it impacts people, I wouldn't know. I have not been in a house that has been made, for example, you have these earth ships that are made with second-hand tires. I have questions about that. This car tires, it must have an impact, but I have not been in such a place, so I have no reference for that kind of energy yet. So if anyone sees this and lives in such a place, I'm curious. I have no idea what it does, but on the other hand, people who live in places like that, they create their home with a lot of effort and attention and love, so they may be changing the energy as well. And of course, you always have to take into consideration that you don't put something in your house that is poisonous. That's just science and maybe logic thinking. Is that an answer?
Yeah.
Did I forget anything?
Absolutely, it's an answer. I mean, there's so many different lenses. What I'm hearing is there's different perspectives from the fact, whatever you put your energy to, it attracts energy. It's the difference between a handcrafted ceramic versus something that's built on the assembly line, to giving that consciousness when you are actually in the act of building a house, whether it's built with car tires or whether it's built with the finest travertine and marble, or although there's some extraction and harvesting issues there too, but whether it's the most impeccable wood structure, or built out of, let's say, recycled metal, and it's a metal frame, and cheap materials like plywood and drywall and all of that. It's about this consciousness. Yeah, for me, I mean, I think it's a really good question. I think that the person who asked the question already has a strong relationship with the nature spirits, and that it sounds like an opportunity for you, that person, to work on that skill, that connection more, and that it could be a way to bring back that a way to communicate with the nature spirits of that material, the elementals of that material, to say that they're safe now, that they're, you know, well taken care of now. Maybe do some kind of an acknowledgement ceremony, or a write an intention saying I'm sorry on behalf of whoever mined you in mining or harvested you in an unconscious way. I'm sorry, you know. Maybe that person, maybe she was able to connect with the event of that harvesting. Who knows, right? I mean, these signs and intuitions can really open up truths about, yeah, the past of materials, right? The history of or events that were traumatic for that nature being, or whatever, that, or that it held a trauma somehow. And so, yeah, I think that the more that you give love to your home, the more you pay attention, the more that you're conscious, the more you say thank you. I've been giving very simple thank yous to the spirit of the house, of my house construction. I mean, that's a whole other level to weave in. You know, a lot of people will wait until it's finished. Okay, the house has to be perfect, right? Until it feels spiritual or like a sanctuary. And so in process of building my own home, I'm now declaring that it's a sanctuary, even in its chaotic state, even in its half-assed, half-built state, and to give thanks to the being that's being formed. And you know, there's a being that's being formed that actually even surprises me. Like, oh, okay, so you've decided to show up like this, or form like this, and you know, a lot of things have evolved without me planning them, and there's a reason for it. Right now, our whole front entrance or front side of the house is a mud road. There's been rain like crazy these past few days, and it's a mud road, and I'm like, okay, it's a mud road now. Right? To accept. There are parts of me that are just like, when am I going to move in? When is this going to all come together? So going back to that question, you know, no matter what state, phase your house is in, no matter where the materials have been harvested, even no matter whether they are super ecological or not, I think what you're bringing to the table, Nikki, about bringing that consciousness, the attention to the act of building something, crafting something, like that example of the ceramic bowl, is really what's going to support you in creating that sanctuary you dream of, and to do the right thing. I think I hear also from that question a concern, you know, a responsibility, wanting to be, and this is good. We need to be more conscious with our materials. I mean, there's one side where we could say, oh, well, energy is energy, and we could still be building with asbestos, right? Or, you know, super toxic, like plywood, formaldehyde, and right? but at a certain point, you know, like that starts to get also way to higher dimension, high energy, because we do have a responsibility as citizens of this earth to support sustainable materials, to add to have natural materials, responsibly harvested materials where we can. Um, where we can, and to support local builders and artisans and you know, craftsmen and furniture makers where we can. And I think that's really going to bring a lot of that does bring a lot of life and spirit into
Yeah, and a
the house.
very good question to have is always, what can I do for you? If you connect with an energy that's not so happy. And then you will know if you need to do a ritual or an acknowledgement or whatever is necessary. You will receive the information. And it's really
Yeah.
wise, like you do, saying thank you during the whole build. I have an example, and it was actually within my family. We visited the land where they were planning their house, and we were walking around there. What would be the best part? And she invited me to check that. And then I have not been involved in the whole build anyway. And then years later, they told me about all of the problems they uh, came across during this build. And then I asked a simple question, okay, but if you are constantly swearing at your house in whatever shape or form it is, what kind of response are you going to expect? If you do that with your partner, you know, you're not in a very happy relationship. So
Right.
yeah, it is a relationship with the place and your home and the building materials and the architect that's designing for you and everything, the whole project. It is a holon. It is a situation where you can have a relationship with it, and you can make it a good one if you give it any
Yeah.
attention. So it
I
is.
love it. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
powerful.
And after I made that remark, it was really quiet at the table for a long time. Oh yeah.
Long time, right?
Why do I do that?
Nikki
Yeah,
just laid it down, laid it right on the table.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. We are always waiting, and I catch myself too, waiting for the perfection to happen, waiting for whatever you envision in your mind as the vision, as the sanctuary, as the dream, as the personal power place, right? Um, to to first appear very quickly, A. B, you're waiting for that, but until that happens, you know, there can be a lot of frustration, anger. I certainly have been very angry and frustrated about certain situations in the house. Um, and then I always go back to realizing it's a mirror. It's a mirror of myself, a mirror of my family, and an opportunity to yeah to have a clear, loving,
Mhm.
and transparent communication with the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the home.
And if you have the
Yeah.
time and the peace to see it, then you cannot do but laugh, because then you suddenly see it and then you understand. I'm sure it happened to you as well. You are really
Oh,
frustrated
for
and
sure.
angry. Why is it not working? And why is this? And why? And then when you have some time and you reflect, and then you just, that's it. But that can only happen
Exactly.
if you establish this relationship with the energies of place.
Yeah. Requires good listening too. Really being able to, which is something that you're really good at, Nikki, as well, to be able to um, arrive at a state of not being in a space of not knowing, being unattached to results, being unattached to any meaning or message, and to enter the field, which is maybe the property, the garden, the home, with a neutrality and almost meditative, but there's a certain state that you train yourself to be in, to notice, to be able to notice synchronicities, and to be able to deeply listen to what the building is telling you. Whether it's one room in the house, whether it's the floors, the roof. I mean, recently I noticed that there's a lot of water on our property. We're basically on a wetland. Neighborhood's built on a wetland. I mean, I don't think that's the best place to live, but it is what we've attracted. There's a lot of beauty too. We're close to the sea, and you know, but there's a lot of water. And at a certain point, I could feel that the water, there was water issues. There was a pipe from on the government side, like the municipal side. It wasn't being charged to us, but there was a pipe that was leaking in front of our house. It was just constant water going, unending. We had some water issues in the roof as well, because it wasn't built properly. It's a flat roof, which is not ideal as well. So I'm working with a flat roof. And it was then one day I felt that the water needed a place to go, because I felt she was being not respected enough on this property and in the region, because everything's being built on the wetland. You know, it's like the water spirit is just, she's confused. There's a road that just being built, like cutting through one pathway of a wetland as well, like with the reeds. The reeds were kind of cut in half. So that's something that we need to now look at energetically, is how to unite that path energetically, even though there's a road between it. Anyway, so there's water flow. There's lots of water everywhere. And I took a vessel. This is an example, a practical example for all of you who's joined, you know, about what's possible, what can, in a creative way, to communicate with that water spirit. And so I took this small bowl. I didn't have a lot of time. Small bowl, put it on the heart altar of our house in the main house construction. And I wrote a note saying, I love you, water. I'm giving you a place to go. Come into this vessel. You have a home here. And I didn't have so much time. I folded it up and I put it in there. And then the door opens and the building inspector arrives with the papers. And I'm like, hi, what are you? I've never seen the person before. He's like, I'm here from the municipality, from the city. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like nervous too, because there's some things that we changed, and there are things that are not really to code or whatever, right? And comes in, bright smiling face. He flowed in like water, up the stairs, up on the second floor. He flowed down like water, like literally. It was like not even, maybe it was like under 5 minutes, okay? He basically looks, he's like, all looks good to me. In the meantime, he was upstairs, and I'm like continuing to pray to the water, okay? I'm praying like to the vessel, like, please, please. And then I'm calling my husband. I'm like, you better come over. He's here. And then he did come over. They ended up just having a quick chat, and he's like, yeah, you're going to get the stair guard done, right? It's like, okay, that's fine. Come in, make your deposit at the city. blah, 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 and it was done. So this is an example of the beauty of synchronicity. And then later the pipe, related to the pipe, I ended up finding this beautiful angel who was on the street working for the water municipality, the water people. And they weren't coming. We were calling them, you need to fix this pipe, you need to fix this pipe. It's leaking. It was really bothering me. The water being like leaking out and being wasted, and it just felt it didn't feel right to me at all. Every day I was seeing this water being leaked. And then after I did that ceremony and did some other work, some other energetic work on the property telepathically as well, I ran into this man, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can fix it." He comes over, it's all fixed, and we also don't have a significant water issue now. And we had 3 days of major storms, so water issue in the roof. There's still a couple practical things we do need to take care of, but so that's an example of during construction what the house could show you.
It is a perfect example how the water beings are cooperating. Imagine if you have a troubled relationship and the beings are not cooperating. Then you would have a lot. You would probably have a lot worse than a mud road in front of the house.
Yeah, they can really do play a lot of tricks on people. Whether it's the nature spirits or whether it's the aspect of yourself, your shadow, whatever that is, whether it's a ghost in the house, events can really go in a totally different direction if you're blind to these things.
And that comes back to this question. If you are not aware of such an energy, when it's an abused energy in the materials of your building, it could affect you. It could, and you wouldn't know why it happens. So it always comes down back to whether you are aware of it or not. You do have a relationship with environment, always.
Yeah.
And that's a given. And if you accept that, then you can become aware whether or not it is a good relationship or a not so good relationship. And if the relationship is not so good, then you have the opportunity to make it better. But if you take the position of being a victim and why me and why is this always happening to us?
Why am I here? Why have I attracted this house?
You have
why is nothing going
such a house to make you aware of certain things you need to be aware of. And that's why that's why I always say, if you don't fix the relationship with this house, if you're going to move, you will probably be in a house with similar problems or a version of the same kind of energetic problems.
Yeah, love it. Such key information. Yeah. So Nicky, does anybody have a question here? Whoever's joined our talk. It's a great opportunity for you to ask any specific questions about projects you're working on or your own home, your own garden. I also want to share that, the pace at which life is revealing things to us, I feel is going pretty fast these days. like within one day, many things can be revealed, many things can be healed, but it does take some time to practice entering a state where you're conscious and aware of it. Yeah, 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 thanks. Yeah, so nice again. So great to have you again. Yes. Yeah, any questions, add in the comment below. We always love receiving your questions. We like to organically create these talks based on what you're needing and how we can support you in these short windows of these live talks. Yeah. So while people just think about questions to share, Nicky, what are you up to these days? Are you still providing the one-on-one consulting, helping people to heal themselves by healing their homes?
Yeah, people just send me an email and we'll connect, and then I do an intake interview and then make you a proposal, and then I come to your house or not. Yeah. And
can you share, Nicky? Actually, this just came up because we haven't talked about it so much. Maybe in the Sacred Blueprint interview series and some of the earlier interviews that I've done with you, can you share how you've developed your own way, your modality? Give the audience a bit of background about how you've developed your unique way of healing people's properties. Like, I think it's helpful for some of also the women architects and designers who are wanting to work with energies, and maybe even geomancers, land healers who are listening, just to get a sense of your background and what you've studied and.
Well, I got this question a couple of weeks ago, and I actually made a post about it. Because someone asked, well, did you have any education because of what you do? And I thought, yeah, I had many educations. And last week, I had a folder, a map from my high school with my diploma in it. And ever since then, I have put in all my certificates and diplomas always in that particular folder. And it broke down. It was plastic, and after 29 years, it's gone. It's gone. It's
integrated or something.
So I have been reorganizing all these documents, and I counted them. And over the years, I have collected over 20 educations. Energetic work, and that is only the ones that got me a certificate. So not every education gives you a certificate. Not every education needs you to do an exam, but these are the ones. So it's quite a lot. I was impressed myself, actually.
That's awesome. Good thing that the plastic disintegrated.
So, yeah. How I started was I noticed that I was sensitive for more information than my classmates. I was a teenager, and I was lucky enough that I worked with someone in a restaurant who I could talk about this spiritual kind of stuff. And she advised me to go to an intuitive development training. And she said, well, if you're going to go, you need to go to this person. And I think I was 19, so I did that.
Okay. You started early.
I started early, and at that time, I was 19, I was really young. And I was with all these old ladies in their 60s, But hey, I learned that I was not crazy. And there are more people who experience that. So that was, for me, at that time, a very important lesson to learn. And I did all kinds of crazy stuff, a lot of body healing trainings, and I always missed something. And then how that happens, I was on a dowsing training, and I was walking around with these rods, and I thought, this is it. This is what I've been missing. This is what I experienced, and now I have a tool. So that was really eye-opening to me, and that's where I learned about this word geomancy, because it's not a normal word in Dutch. Nobody ever knows what it is, geomancy. So, and this man was starting an education of 4 years in energetic work, and I just, went to do that, and I think I was maybe 21. So it was really.
That's
And
awesome.
you learn, you learn skill, you practice your skills, you learn some tools, and because you get with a group of people, you get to know your own qualities and your own, where are your talents and where are your interests, so you can find more trainings that are more suitable to your kind of style. And because, yeah, you develop, and then you discover in a different kind of method that the same transformation of energy can be done in a different way, and maybe quicker, right, or more effective or easier, and I think it doesn't matter what kind of job you have, it is always like that. You do an education, you do a course, you do a training, and you think, this particular thing that I can put there. I'm sure you do that as well, right, in your field of expertise, and whether if that's a computer program or a ritual or whatever. And I think that is logical. And if you have been doing that for a long time, we're talking decades here already. I'm getting older. I even, on a side note, I had my first reading classes this week.
Nice.
So I had to cave in,
Another baby womanhood, yes.
But hey, and it's just, a lot of training, a lot of it's what I like. So I read a lot about it, and then you develop. So I think everybody with an interest in energy, and you don't know where to start, just start somewhere, and then you will find out while you are doing it whether it's your tool or not. You can even start with a tarot training, or pendulum training, or quantum touch healing training. There's so many things you can discover. You can start with, I don't know, reading our auras. It's all just, just start somewhere. Something that, sparks for you, and just find out if it fits for you or not. And for me, it was really eye-opening when I discovered this word geomancy, because geomancy connects events, people, and places within the space of time. So it's really a very holistic view of the world, and it is really connected with architecture as well.
Yeah,
but not only.
Well, I mean, first of all, congratulations on that moment of opening up that disintegrated envelope, getting rid of the envelope, and seeing all of the certificates that you've gained. Congratulations, really, on all that work, and really for being brave enough to step into this work at age 19. That's big. Most women, men don't discover that they have spiritual gifts until 50, 60, right? It can take a long time. Yeah, and that's a path too. That's a story too. That's not saying it's good or bad. And I wish that I had a teacher like you in architecture school. Like, how awesome would it be to have a geomancy class? It's like, I'm going to geomancy now.
Yeah.
Lectures on this work need to be done in most universities. I remember, um, having a job interview at a university, because I also have teaching experience. I taught in Turkey at a university, and I was considering to teach part-time at a school in Canada for a certain period of time. And during the interview, there was the director of the school and her colleague who would be a potential professor that I'd be working with. And there was something that I said just about energy and spirit, just the background of my work. May have not even used the word spirit, not sure, but just taking a more holistic approach, incorporating the energy of place, the genius loci, which is actually even something that we would hear in school in our studies in Rome and in Italy, you know, the genius loci, right, was a thing. Even they would build architecture, spaces, urban planning based on the genus loci, right? But it was still a very surfaced way of educating that to us. Anyway, to make a long story short, something got triggered within this professor, and her face turned red, and it just triggered her. It triggered her. She didn't react with her voice or anything, but I didn't end up getting the job because I think that I just made her really uncomfortable. I made her uncomfortable. There was something that was off. And so it takes guts to talk about this in universities, the world of spirits, the world of energy. And I do see it opening up more, especially since sustainability is such an important key piece. Consciousness, circular design, which is this kind of like, what is it, cradle to cradle, you know, using materials consciously, not making too much waste on the construction site, designing green buildings, passive heating, passive cooling, you know, living building challenge, right? All of this. So it's raising the consciousness for sure. But even in that realm, the big missing piece of the puzzle is energy, spirit. The fact that trees are living beings, the fact that the land is a living consciousness, the fact that your home is a living consciousness.
Yeah, I've been wondering about it because you asked a lot of the interviewees in your Sacred Blueprint series, but and then you introduced the question with what you just said. It's a taboo basically to speak about energy and spirit, and I thought, how is that possible? Because when you're talking design, you're talking energy, and I remember a couple of years ago, I was at what you call that, a place where you can market your business, yeah, all of them together.
Like a convention,
yeah,
or
something like that. Yeah. And my next door neighbor was an interior designer, and he was really sensitive. And I think, yes, of course, because you're an artist, you're an interior designer. You know, he was really, you know, in the high scale market, kind of the nice stuff, the beautiful materials and all that. And in those couple of days, he finally told me that he had a water dowser once upon a time in his house because his son couldn't sleep. And before, he didn't want to know anything about energy. And I asked him the same question. How can you not talk about energy because it's your work? You are designing spaces for people with a certain personality. That is energy. So is it just vocabulary that is different? Because how is it possible that you talk design without in any kind of wording talking about energy? And I was really, so that is basically a question for you, because I do not know that word. It's just, I was just amazed that is just such a taboo.
Yeah. And then later he opened up to you and said, actually, I had a dowser once come, and then there was a certain connection there, and it felt good for him to open up to you there. That's beautiful. Yeah, you know, Nikki, to give that background, you know, in my education, I had maybe one teacher, maybe another, that got into like the psyche and Jungian philosophy, and I could speak about energy and spirit with that person. But generally, all the other professors, no way. Very cerebral, Nikki, very intellectual, like a lot of the professors would not assess the projects based on how it felt for them, but they would assess it based on how skillfully someone could prove the meaning of their project. So that's very cerebral, very intellectual. So it's like you had to have a really good pitch, and it had to be super intellectual. Now, I may be exaggerating a bit. Of course, there are a lot of the architects really appreciate good detailing, good design, good proportions. How is the light entering into the space? Are you tectonic? Are you using the right tectonics? Tectonics means the putting together of materials, and can you do that in a beautiful way? Absolutely. But in general, that skill wasn't attributed to being skilled in working with energy, was not attributed to having spirit. Maybe soul was used. The word soul may have been used every so often, like what's the soul of the place, like what's the vibe of the place. But you couldn't even have those basic conversations. And I mean, I wasn't even talking about like angels or anything, right? Like, okay, if you start getting into the devas and the fairies, which I now totally openly talk about, and I don't give a fuck if people think I'm wacko or not anymore. I could not care less. Before, I was terrified. I was terrified of talking about the fairies. And is that a topic to open up in every single situation? No, it's not. But energy, right? Flow, movement, which is actually something that's basic knowledge in the East, right? If you think about the feng shui practice, if you think about, even in Turkey, we're on the edge, right? Between East and West. We still have like what we call bereket, right? Bereket, it's like the abundance that flows in. You know, you hang a little evil eye above your door to bring in good energy or to ward off evil spirits, right? So like that conversation can still be had here, but I'm hoping it's changing, because I've been out of the university world for a while now, but I'm hoping it's changing. I still think that the conversation about sustainability lacks spirit, lacks geomancy, and that's a big part of the problem. I think Marco Pogachnik would talk about that as well. You know, like it's just you're missing the big picture. And what we're doing, Nikki, is the future. It's the future way of designing. I know it, and I see it. I see the future, and more of, this more very materialistic, very uber intellectual way of practicing is falling away.
But then, I've always seen it as an intellectual conversation, but maybe it's not. About architecture being frozen music. Is that
I love
something that is discussed? Because if you talk about the same things in music, you can talk about very technical about music, but it lacks heart, it lacks soul, it lacks spirit. Or you could, have music that is straight from source, but maybe not so perfectly, and everybody is in tears. And the same can be with architecture. And if you look at all these, I don't know by heart, you know that probably better than I do, but all these with the monochord and all these scaling and the golden
to the
ratio
golden
and
proportion.
everything, and with music, I've read whole books about it. There's none of that in architecture school.
A little bit of the golden proportion, like we learned, like Vitruvius's, like the column proportions, the Doric column, the Corinthian, the Ionic, but not getting into the deep, deep golden proportion information. No.
Wow.
You would think, like, why not have a sacred geometry class?
Yeah.
Like, just basic.
It's
really
basic.
like,
yeah.
Basic because it was employed for so long. No, it's more. It was more fragmented. It was more fragmented, and a big piece of the puzzle was missing. It was just more about numbers and aesthetics rather than what that golden mean was a vehicle for. It was more about just beauty. I mean, of course, beauty is a very deep value. But the way they were looking at it was more the aesthetics, right?
But the one is not. One is not without the other. You know, if you are designing a building with the golden ratio, and you did not allow yourself to experience what that does to your body, then you do not know what it means. You can talk about it for hours on aesthetics because of the golden ratio, but it is not about the golden ratio. It's a translation for what happens here.
Boom. Boom. So powerful. So powerful. Nikki, we need to open a new university.
And we need to have, a sacred geometry class for sure. Maybe even, two.
Yeah. Who's in? Share in the comments. Who's in for this new university? Okay, but it has to be a lot more fun than normal university.
Yeah, it will, because I have some nice exercises you can do. I'm sure we will be able to create something beautiful to do that. So if you're up for that, let us know, because we are very willing to create something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love it. Nikki, it was such a good conversation. Thank you for sharing about your background, more about how you came to be this awesome geomancer and house healer, and like always, such an amazing conversation. I think there was one comment though that I don't want to skip here about the garden from Fenike, I think. Our garden is full of abelin roots. I don't know what that is. The whole garden disarray. We can't get rid of it. Is it like a root that takes over the whole garden? We also have an apple tree that has blown over. She's been struggling for years. She's in the middle of the roots of the apples. Apples? Apple root? No. Can you clarify? Now I wonder if I better put her out of her misery. Yes. Yeah, I didn't understand what roots they were. Like, are they invasive roots or something? Or maybe did she go? I don't know.
I would just connect with the tree spirit and ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Connect with the tree spirit. That's what Nikki says. Yeah. It may be that the tree is ready to pass.
And if there are other beings using that tree, you could, create a ceremony to transform them to transplant them to another tree, like you did with the basil, something similar like that, with a stone, or you can just move them.
Yeah. Yeah. With your consciousness, you can absolutely move them. Okay, great. Big tree. A tree. Okay, we're not getting a lot of information here, but Well, Fenike, why don't you reach out to either one of us if you have that, if you don't receive enough clarity with our answers. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, it was an amazing session,
Yeah.
Nikki. Um, awesome. Yeah. So before that we close, I also want to share to my community and to everybody's community that I am still accepting applications for the Architect Studio. It's a 3-month program for women architects and designers, and we're going to be helping each other to build prospering design practices by weaving spiritual wisdom with architecture. And you get access to the Sacred Blueprint online course, and we'll be following the course through, and you'll get a chance to do a lot of experiential exercises, journeying, and receive the support of the group, which is just, I mean, I experienced that in the master class, and there's a whole other level when you do group work. And I know you, Nikki, have done either your own education or your teachings within a group context, and there's just a whole other level of precision that can be attained, and acceleration of skills and mastery within a group context. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And so it's in my link tree too. So you just go into the link in my bio and you can download the application details. And they, what is it? 2 days. You've got 2 days left to apply for the program. So I look forward to seeing you there, whoever is an architect or a designer who's interested in working with land energies and your intuition. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Nikki, do you have anything you want to share about what you're up to?
Well, same as ever. If you need me, just drop me an email. And
Okay.
yeah, for the rest, I started my swim instructor training last week.
Certificates being posted. So you've got
in another 2 weeks, I will be starting the internship. So I will be teaching little children how to swim. I'm really looking forward to that. And swimming it's getting spring now, so it's more and more on the agenda. I have some great tours coming up, and
nice.
And for the rest, energetic wise, it's mostly one-on-one at the moment, and probably for the summer as well.
Nice.
So if you need me, just send me an email. I'm available, and we can talk about it and what you need, whether it's education or whether it's help with your home. Just drop me an email.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, Nikki, it was a great talk this morning, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Have a good day and a nice Easter, everyone.
Yes. Nice Easter to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.